Hey, what's up, guys? Chad Hermansen here with Mental Edge Training Coach. Today, I am going to be chatting with Eric Gagne. That's right, Eric Gagne, the former closer of the Los Angeles Dodgers. We're going to be talking about his story, how he grew up in Canada, what that was like for him being a hockey player and a baseball player, and how he was able to get drafted, his role as a starter in the minor leagues, and how he eventually became one of the best closers we've ever seen at the major league level. So enjoy this conversation with Eric Gagne. Hey, what's up, Eric? How's it going today?
I'm great. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So Eric and I were teammates in, I believe it was 2003. We were both Dodgers. I was actually, most of the year I was in Las Vegas playing for my hometown here for the 51s. And you're out just, breaking records and saves, no big deal for the Dodgers. And then I had come up to the Dodgers, and it was actually quite a treat to watch you come out and play. I was chilling the whole time, no playing time whatsoever, and just watching you dominate major league hitters. But I want to go and kind of start with you just way back. I kind of want to start with you and allow you to share your story, because you were born in Canada. You didn't have the actual path, you could say, a lot of us take to the big leagues. You came from Montreal. So tell us about your upbringing and your story there.
Well, I'm a hockey player in my head. I think I pitched like a hockey player. Like you said, my path was a little different. I always dreamed about being a hockey player. My dream was to be in the NHL, play for the Canadians. But I loved baseball. My dad always told me, he goes, I want you to do more than just hockey, because it was really hockey all day, all year, every year. I ate hockey. I dreamed hockey. I loved baseball, but to me, it was more of a secondary sport really early, but I fell in love with it. My dad was really involved in it. He always coached me a lot. So to me, just to do a different sport, he wanted me to keep me busy, do other things. And then I just picked baseball. I fell in love with it. I was really good at it. Of course, it's always fun when you're a kid, you're good at it. So I kept going with it. I really didn't have a plan for a career in baseball. I really didn't think of that. I didn't even know you could get drafted. So
Really?
I had no clue. So it was a little different. I wanted to play hockey. I wanted to be, successful athletes as a hockey player. I never thought of baseball. And then I was 15 years old, and Claude Peltier was my scout he actually was at the Mets now. I don't think he works anymore, but it was the Dodgers. And he followed me ever since I was 14, 15, 16 years old. And he came up to me, he goes, "Hey, you want to be a Major League Baseball player?" I'm like, "If it pays, I'm in." So, just kind of it went that way. My dad told me, when he approached me, I was pretty young. I didn't really know if it was able to be drafted or not. When my dad said, it's cool, man. If you want to do that, just go hard. Just make sure you do it right, and do it as hard as you can, and just give everything you got. And if you can't make it, at least you won't have any regret. So that's kind of how it started. My dad just kind of a passion guy. He's not a sports guy. I don't think he ever played sports. And he just wanted me to be busy, keep stay out of trouble, basically.
Okay. So you grew up hockey. So is high school baseball is a lot different in Canada, right? It's kind of non-existent. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's zero. I think it's starting a little bit like baseball in the U.S. I think they're trying to mimic, but you got to remember, when you go to school, you're going to school. There's no sports there, so it's a little bit harder. I don't like it as much, but to me, you had to be club. It's club baseball, club hockey. It's always outside the school. So to me, it was very different. You had to find your friends. And I remember my dad used to have to go around to his car, his old, I think it was old Malibu. I think it was yellow, or I can't remember exactly the color. He would drive around the neighborhood and pick up the kids, 4, 5, 6 kids, and just go to the park and go play. So that's kind of how it was at first. And then I got involved a little bit more in the Little League. And my dream was to go to Little League World Series when I started playing. I watched it, and I think it was in Williamsport back then.
Yeah.
So I wanted to do that. Yeah. And then that's what I kind of did when I was young. Just kind of play boat sports, and that's why I made my friends. And my dad was really involved. My parents were really involved. So it's a little different path, but I think it's just passion. I think you just go out and play hard, and whatever sports, I think it kind of translates to everything.
Yeah, it's interesting. What are you, about 45 around there? 44. Okay.
44.
So, yeah, we're about the same age. You're 2 years older maybe than me. But yeah, we've noticed that in our generation, we always kind of preach, like, play football, play basketball, play baseball. And I think we're still trying to preach that. And we're seeing these younger kids get kind of so involved in baseball at 8U, 9U, and it's, 10, 11 months out of the year. With you playing hockey, that is probably a huge difference. What, as far as like a mental toughness part of hockey, how does that translate with baseball?
I want to go back on the subject that everybody plays all year.
Okay, yeah.
I think we have a little bit of FOMO. I think we have fear of missing out a lot as parents, as players, and I think that's the problem. If you just like, hey, everybody understands that you don't have to play baseball all day to work at baseball. You can still work with other sports. You can still be a great athlete at something else. You're still working on the game. So that thing, if it's turned that way, I think the kids would be interested in it. It's going to help all the other sports. And I think it's going to grow the games, not just baseball, but all the games and all the sports. And to me, it was to keep myself out of trouble. And my dad was basically that. And I think if it's just focus on sports, any sports, it doesn't matter. I think we're going to grow out of this, and the kids need to do that. I know it's hard because everybody's got to be so good at early age. If you don't, you're missing out. I get that. My son plays hockey. He plays midget AAA in Canada. I mean, it's, he got a concussion. He was feared being, missing out like 2 or 3 months he missed out. But now he's coming back, and he's mentally a little bit strong. It's like just stuff like you can still work on your craft, still work on your game, not just being on the field or on an ice rink or whatever. You can still do that. But to go back to your question, I think mentality as a hockey player is to go all out. And I think as a starter, when I came to the big leagues, I was told to go like 80%, like Oral Orshizer, the Greg Maddux of the world. Like these guys are just so automatically they're so fine-tuned with their body. They can go 80, 85%.
Yeah.
And I think for me as a closer, I'm like, man, I'm a hockey player. I'm going there for 30-second shift. I'm going to go all out. And I felt my body function better when I do that. And maybe it's a stress, under stress, whatever it is. But I think as a closer, it was more my personality. And I think the hockey player translates a lot in the way I pitched. I mean, when I was on the ice, I was going to go all out and, either it's a do or die situation. I loved it. And I think as a closer, that was a little bit the mentality I went about. I mean, I never saw it as a save. I saw it as a preserved win. And to me, that was important. The guys worked their butt off all day. 9 innings, they put all the numbers down. We're winning. So to me, it was just, hey, just preserve it and, go celebrate with the guys.
That's interesting. Yeah, preserve the win. That's really interesting mindset with that. Yeah, it's interesting because when we were teammates, our team was loaded. I came from Pittsburgh most of the time, was with Chicago for just 2 months, then got traded that off season. It was a free agent, I should say. The Dodgers picked me up, but I'm just going to kind of remember who we had. So if I started in the outfield, when I came, we had Jeremy Burnitz, Brian Jordan, and Ricky Henderson. So there were
Ricky first. Remember his first at bat?
Yeah.
He hit a bomb.
So I told this story before. I was here again with Vegas, right? And my roommate was Larry Barnes, sweet swinging lefty, right? And we were on the road somewhere, and ESPN had done a story on Ricky Henderson because he was playing in the independent league, just killing it at, I think, 42, which is how old I am today, 42. And I'll go, dude, watch, dude, somebody's going to pick him up and somebody is going to lose their job. And what do you know? Like, I completely manifested that because I was in the big leagues with the Dodgers. Ricky Henderson shows up. Hey, Hermansen, you got to go.
Be fair to what you wish for.
I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, Larry, I called it.
Like, I wish you had said someone else.
But yeah, I mean, it was obviously just the fact that I got to play with Ricky Henderson. That was pretty cool. But so then moved to center field. We have Dave Roberts, right, who is managing in the big leagues of the Dodgers now. Sean Green. And Adrian Beltre, who is pretty good third base.
He's decent. I got it. Yes, he's pretty good at little short.
He's pretty good.
Short sidearm, right?
Cesar Torres,
best hands I've ever seen. I think. Yeah.
Defense first guy, just smooth. Alex Cora, we all know Alex at second, and then I believe it was Fred McGriff at first base.
Prime dog.
And then we had let's see. I want to say Leduco's catching.
Catcher is either Leduco and Phillips, maybe. Remember? I think was it Phillips?
Phillips was after me.
Or Hot Rod.
Hoffman.
Hot Rod. Hundley. Todd Hundley. Oh, David Ross. That's David right. Ross. Hundley was this before.
Yeah, I played with. So I was part of the trade when Eric Karros got traded,
yeah,
I went to the Dodgers, the Cubs. Yeah.
with
So I was
Gruds.
part of
Gruds,
that.
Alinek, EK.
Yeah, I was a part of that. So it's kind of interesting how that all worked. But then the pitching staff was, I mean, we had Darren Dreifert, you're closing. I mean, I can't even, the names are kind
We
of.
had a lot of good start. I mean, that starting, actually a starter, we had guys that were struggling a little bit, but we had guys that got hurt. Wait, is that Kevin Brown here?
Kevin Brown was there. Yes.
Kevin Brown, Dreifert, Chen-Ho Park, maybe?
Yep.
Chen-Ho, and then who else?
Nomo. Nomo was still there.
Yeah, Nomo-san. He's awesome.
Yeah.
He's amazing.
Yeah. So he just even though I was a little bit in big league awe with oh my God, and I didn't smell the field. My day was taking BP, and I was banged up.
The support cast, man, that's important.
Yeah. So but that was fun, but it was also pretty cool to watch you come in. But I always kind of paid attention to what guys' routines were, how they got ready for the games. Pitchers are on a completely different level, the way you guys work and your physical activity you guys do. Tell us, and for a pitcher, a bullpen guy that might be listening to this, what was your routine like as a closer? Because knowing that you might pitch every day.
Yeah, but that's what I'm trying to, a lot of guys ask me that question. What'd you do every day? I'm like, the thing is, I was trying to feel how my body felt. That's one. I mean, because you get worn out. I mean, there's times I went 4 or 5 days in a row, and then you just got to basically arms hanging by a thread, and you just got to figure out how to keep it on it, just keep that arm attached to the body is usually what you're trying to do a lot of times in the season. I think, there's a lot of things. I would do upper body. I love doing upper body for me, but I think it changes. Everybody's different. Some days I would go out, drink the night before. I pitched 2 days in a row. I'm like, man, I got to go easy. I go in the steam room and stuff like that. So it would be changing all the time. But the main thing for me, the routine was just to get to the field, trying to eat the same hour earlier. Like if I would eat at 11:30 on the road, because it's a little later on the road, I would eat at 10 o'clock at home. That's kind of what my routine was. Like more of the stuff around the game, because the game was such a chaos. Like I was trying to get ready for whatever, because you never know when you're ready. That's off the field. On the field, physically, I mean, the workouts, I had my trainer, Todd Clausen. He was with me all the time. He always helped me. So I wasn't really a set workout per se. I did what I kind of had to do. That's kind of what I went, because you're just trying to keep the arm. I mean, of course, you did we called it the Job weights, the shoulder Job weights back then. I did a lot of that. But more to be in tune and in touch with your body. That's kind of what I would say, like to kids, understand what I did is what I did. It doesn't mean it's not the blueprint for everybody. That's what I did. It's not exactly for everybody. It's not tailor-made for everybody. So I think be in touch with your body, understand how you feel. And I think Paul Quantrill was the best guy that told me that. Q is you got to feel it. I mean, you can pitch with pain. You can pitch with nicks and bruises. But if you don't feel your body, you'll never know. If you don't listen to it, you'll never know how to get it better. So I think that was a big thing I've learned. I learned just little stuff like that you just my routine was to get a feel for my body. I mean, during the game, I watch film. I watch the game. I watch the angles of the calls. What am I getting today? Am I getting the inside pitch more? Is he willing to? Because that's what I love about the element of the human factor. Okay, a guy likes to call pitches in. I'm like, tonight I'm going to go in as much as I can, unless if they established and I see the hitters are going on in a lot, I get my outsides open. Depending on what situation I would come into the game. To me, it's just I don't want to call it routine. It's more mental preparation. I mean, read some scouting reports, whatever I could understand out of it. Just kind of same meal, same routine. Like I would tap the ground 3 times, tap the walls, just stuff like that. Where okay, I'm still here. I still do the same thing, even though there's complete chaos. Things I could control, I would try to. That would be my routine, kind of. But I would try to be not too obsess about it. We don't call it routine because it's just we don't want to do obsession on that. But that's that's kind of what I did. I went around the stadium 3 times when I was a starter, all 3 outs and all 3 strikes. It was a long time when I was a starter. Like, man, I'm gonna go 9 innings. Like, you're not realistic.
Yeah, you wouldn't do well on the time. 25 or whatever that time is right now. Was it like 20 seconds between each pitch? I'm not even sure what it is.
That's right.
Yeah, because when I had faced you as in AAA, you were still the Dodgers. You were in Albuquerque. I was in Nashville quite a bit. That's when it seemed like you started to really make a name for yourself. As a big pitching type prospect with the Dodgers. But you were more of a starter at that point, correct?
Yeah, I mean, all through the minor leagues with the Dodgers, I've always started. I mean, I think the biggest Dodger, I think everybody talks about their pitching. I think the best thing what they gave me was innings. I mean, I went out there, I succeed, I fail. I had a lot of innings. I remember Charlie Duff would say, you know what, you don't know how to pitch until you have 500 or 600 innings under your belt, then any level, in pro level. I mean, it'd be A-ball, double A, triple A. If you have 500 or 600 innings, then you can tell, you know what, I've been through pretty much everything, even though baseball will always bring you a curveball somewhere. But you kind of know how to act. You kind of mature enough to go through the ups and downs. And I think these are really important things because now, especially now with all the young kids coming in, they're so talented. I mean, we talk about how good they are. That's true. The only difference when we were there, the talent was still amazing, but I think the mental approach was a little bit different. And I think now they've been rushed a little bit. They might not be prepared perfectly to handle like adversity or, handle the money, handle the road, handle the girls, all that stuff that you don't really see in the minor leagues. You got to get ready for it. I think that's what he kind of meant. Mentally, maturely, you're not really there until you have 400 or 500 innings, which, it could take you 10 years sometimes. It depends on what you're – but I think that's why big prospects would usually start, I think. And I wasn't a big prospect to start with. I think I had 2 good years, and I became a big name in A-ball and double A. That's when at double A, that's when I got called up, and I was a big name because I was in Texas, and I started doing really well. I kind of came into my own a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I think it's tough to say exactly why or the reasons that why I wasn't a good starter. I think it's more my hockey mentality. But, like you said, the kids are so young now. I don't think they're as mature, but you see some kids are like, wow, it's insane. I mean, the talent level is unbelievable now. We're really lucky.
Yeah, it's impressive to watch. Yeah, and like you were saying before, like maybe that's just your approach and the way you pitched. It was maybe 100%. Like I'm going after these guys. Max Scherzer comes to mind. That's like that now and can still do that as a starter. Some guys can back it off and still throw 95, and they have some finesse to that. Where I remember you're just going after them.
That was 110%.
Everything I got.
Nosebleeds, snot coming out, ear bleeding. I mean, it was anything.
And did you notice that you were way more effective doing that rather than backing off to that 80%?
Yeah, and that's what I did in bullpens. I mean, I threw bullpens as hard as I could throw. It felt like everything would sink. Yeah. Like my body would sink hard. I mean, as just hard as I could go, as mentally maybe. I don't know exactly what it is, but for me, I was an all-out effort. Mm-hmm. And if you're an all-out effort and you're young, you don't know how to control your body, I think that's when you can start to hurt yourself. But to me, I was old enough, I was mature enough where I had plenty of innings. I knew how to do things physically. I mean, I knew how to throw a ball. Yeah. I knew how to throw, certain pitch. I think you have a certain maturity that you can go all out. A guy like, you watch a Jacob DeGrom, it's insane. I didn't know he was that good. Yeah. The guy throws 100 miles an hour on demand. He just decides to go 100. And it was pretty amazing because I've seen him pitch a little bit from – watch a couple of innings here and there, but I didn't really pay attention that much. When I watched the last 2-3 games, I'm like, wow, this kid is insane. There's a lot of those guys.
And lower effort, right? You're like,
yeah, it's easy gas. That's easy gas. That's like, man, he looks skinny. I don't know how he's probably 6'4", 6'5", probably. He's probably huge.
Yeah. And he's probably 80 pounds maybe,
Yeah, it's just perfect. Just fine-tuned, perfect delivery. I think he understands his body. He knows where his body is in the air, and great balance. He gets it, and just the timing's right, and it clicked. I mean, it's pretty to watch, man. You don't see that very often. It's like a Greg Maddux. It's like a Greg Maddux throwing 100. Yeah, I mean, we don't see that very often.
Yeah, it's pretty special. I agree. When you watch him, I was in the summertime. I usually get assigned a summer team to scout, and it's always I go to the 51s, which is now. What are they? They're the Las Vegas. Drawing a blank on their name. They're the A's AAA now.
Yeah, is it the UFOs now? The UFOs, exactly. The 51s. I love their hat. Those awesome.
Yeah, but the Mets were coming in, and DeGrom hadn't quite made the big leagues yet, and he got scratched. I wasn't able to see him. And then Syndergaard, I got to see him I saw him for one batter, and he kind of pulled his groin on a bunt play, the first batter of the game. But he was throwing 97 in his warm-ups, and just as a scout now, you get excited to see that. What does that look like now? Yeah. Because you didn't see that much as a player when I played. You might see some velocity, but the sharpness of their breaking balls
was not the same.
It's just different.
The kids are better. I mean, I don't care. I wish I was that good. I mean, I wish when I pitch, I'm like, yeah, that was sick. But you look at this stuff now, you're like, Man, that's insane. Like, you're like, how can he not be that good? Like, how can he have like a 4 or 5 ERA? And then that's when I think like the integration of baseball, like us, the old guys that kind of understand the game. I think that's so valuable to understand. Hey, these kids are just kids. I mean, they don't have that many innings. I mean, they come up at 20 years old. They go through the grinders of every day. I mean, it's not easy to play baseball professional. I mean, it's like you got you got to travel. I mean, if you don't know how to travel, it's hard. I mean, you're gonna wear your body out, and I think the young kids don't understand that. But see, these kids are so freaking good now. It's insane. It's unbelievable. Like a Syndergaard, look at Walker Buehler.
Yeah.
Freaking natures. I'm like, he's 105 pounds. It's crazy. But he just generates that perfect, just so much pop, and the delivery is just so perfect. It's pretty cool.
Do you think that has to do a lot with the way the training has evolved over the years? They know how to specialize in that a little bit better?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, that's what, as much as we can say how much we hate the new data, the technology, that's just, to me, I think I like it because it helps the way I coach. I mean, it helps me this trial and errors. I think if we use it the right way, you should be able to, example like drive line, you should be able to understand like, all right, I don't need 45 pitches to warm up. I can do this a certain way, and I can save bullets. You need to save your bullets. I mean, you're not going to throw for 50 years and as hard as you can. It's probably Amazon, huh? Yep.
Amazon all day long.
So yeah, I think it's important to understand like your body, and now I think the training is huge. I mean, Driveline has made so much progress. And as much as we can bash all the new stuff, the Rapsodo, yeah, we get caught up into a little bit of the data, but if you can use it the right way, it's going to help. I mean, that's why those kids are so good. I mean, they understand pitching a little bit, maybe not pitching, but they understand what they need to do with the ball to make it act a certain way. Yeah. And I think a guy like Trevor Bauer, guys like this that just went out on a limb when everybody thought he was crazy, that kid understands the baseball. He understands what the baseball does in the air, and that's important. I mean, if you understand that, you can adjust your body a little bit. And I think that's the thing. As much as the old guys hated a new wave of guys, I think now there's a balance that comes into play. I get one straight on this side, and now it's all right, back in the balance. I think it's pretty fun to watch because you see the talent that I don't think would have came out the old school ways only. I mean, that's this. I don't want to say, I hate saying old school. It's just the old ways that we used to do it. I mean, you want to evolve. I mean, the game evolves, we evolve, everybody evolves, and you can't fight it. It's just got to go out there and try to get as much tool as you can to become the best you can be. And that's all I see data or technology. I see it as a tool to use, and you can overuse tools. You can use it the wrong way. I mean, you got to find a way how to do it, but I think it's important to understand it. If guys don't understand, that's the responsibility for the coaches to give them what they can actually take and actually learn from, not just throw stuff at them and nothing, because then they get overwhelmed. So again, there's got to be a fine line, a fine balance of where, all right, what does this one kid like? What does Eric Gagne need, or what does Walker Buehler need? Some guys don't need anything. Just say, hey, let's go, keep attacking, blah blah blah. It's super simple. But if you tell that to a guy that needs to know why his fastball is not rising the same, or he thinks his fastball is not rising, and he sees that his spin rate's the same, like, hey, maybe it's your head, dude. Maybe you're not making good pitches. Maybe it's that. But I think it just helps pinpoint the problems a little bit better, a little easier, and then just with more accuracy or efficiency.
Yeah, it's interesting. Now, you're working with the Dodgers currently right now as a pitching coach, or is it?
Nope, I'm just home right now. I still throw. I still got guys. I got guys in Quebec City and Montreal. I got guys that was coming here to my house to just train and just kind of play around, just throw balls and kind of mess around with new. Like I did a drive line by myself for 2 or 3 years, see if it was good. If I liked it, I love a lot of things. I'm like, what can we do to make that better? What can we do with the technology side? What can we bring to the players to basically package it and make them better? And that's what I've been doing with the guys in my house. So it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Okay, so you're training guys on your own.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
I've been doing this forever. I remember Russell Martin came to Arizona, lived in my house. We always had guys coming in and out. My wife hates it, but we always had guys. I always had a guest house.
She's like, do I got to feed these guys? Like, what's the difference?
So she's so nice. She wants to cook. I'm like, no, you don't have to. They're fine. They're gonna figure it out. It's just they're staying in the house and it's in the guest house, and that's it. Yeah. So it's been fun. It's been a lot of fun. I've always been involved in baseball some way. It might not be in organized baseball or whatever, but I've always coached a little bit. Like I said, in France, I coach with the Rangers. I coach their guys coming in and out every single year. like 2, 3, 4. There's guys that sometimes there's 10 guys a year. You know, it depends. When spring training comes around 2, 3 weeks before, guys come in. They need catchers. They need info. So we're just going to do that a little bit.
Very cool. Very cool. So I talk to a lot of high school kids and pitchers in general too, that have some, you could say maybe some anxiety about coming into a game, about getting ready for a game. You know, you were a closer at some of the biggest games in Major League history. How did you deal? Did you have any anxiety beforehand? Do you feel like it's normal? Like, what was that like for you?
My anxiety, I think I channeled it the way, like, you know what? I always thought it was 50-50. I'm either going to succeed, I'm either going to fail. That's it. That's very simple. And then I'm like, all right, if I worry about it, is it going to help me succeed or fail? And if I do this, in my head, I've done all my homework, either physically, mentally approach. I was ready for a hitter. Sometimes I prepared too much as a starter. I think I did too much of that. That's probably why I didn't have the same success. But to me, just to clear out all the doubts I had in my mind, either work out harder than someone else, get more information, understand patterns better than others, and just make sure I was disciplined that way. And I got on the mound. It was almost my reward to be on the mound. So that's kind of how I saw it. You know, I paid a price off the mound, and when I get on, it's like, hey, I'm elevated. This is my hill, and whatever happens, I've done everything in my power to be successful. And let's go. And that's really kind of how I saw it. I was nervous every time. I remember my heart would skip in the 7th inning. If I knew there was a 3-run lead, I'm like, it's bad. But sometimes I would hope for a 4-run lead. I'm like, we might want to score one less, or like make sure we give up one so I could get in the game. That was a selfish way as a closer to, you know, you want to get saves, you want to rack them up, and you want to get easy saves. So I think, you know, some stuff like that you're always getting nervous. I mean, I remember my heart would skip, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is my sign. I'm nervous. It's okay. This is what I do every day. Start breathing and just go out about your business. You've done your homework. You've done everything you need, and that's your time to shine, or not.
Yeah.
And just,
that's good to hear, because I think some kids think that, man, if I have anxiety or I'm nervous, that they feel like there's something wrong with them, right?
There's nothing wrong. It means you care.
Right.
You're just scared. Your fear of failure is okay. I mean, like, and it sounds weird, but I watch a TikTok with Will Smith. He goes, hey, if you're afraid of doing it, just do it with fear.
Yeah.
You know, just kind of do it. Go about your business. Try to prepare as much as you can. Just really go out there and kind of, you know what? I feel like I've left everything on the field, so there's no guilt. There's no guilt of like, oh, the FOMO again. I should have done this. I should have trained harder. Well, if you have those doubts after, that's your problem. If you say, you know what? I've done everything I can in my power, in my control to be successful. Sometimes, you know, that's when you tip your hat. Hey, there's a better than me today. That's it. That's just, and then I think it helps move on faster.
Yeah.
It's easy to say from you're here now. Like, oh yeah, like I've controlled that all the time.
That's right.
But
that's right.
You know, it's tough, but it's normal. The kids, I mean, you're going to be freaking out. You're going to be scared. You're going to be afraid. You're going to be, I mean, there's so much that comes into play. Oh, I remember it's like, okay, I got to go 5 I got to go quality starts from the first hitter instead of thinking, hey, I got to get this guy out first. Right. It's just stuff like that when you're a first year, second year guy. You got the Kevin Brown, the China Park. You don't know all these guys in front of you. Number 7 starter in AAA. Like, hey, you know, you just got to go out there and focus on what you need to do every pitch. It sounds so cliche, but there's a reason why it's cliche, because it's true. You know, it's just it's gotta live the fear, feel it, understand it, try to conquer the fear, and you're gonna fail sometimes. I mean, that's just the name of the game. But it's if you can get back up, say, if I could, excuse my French, if you can say get back up and say, you know what, I'm gonna be better next time for it. And I think that's just an attitude. If you have that attitude, it's gonna help. If you fear of failure, it's normal. Everybody's got it, but you just got to spin it around and make it, you know, constructive.
Love it. That's awesome. Now I envision you, because I've seen it so many times. I envision you're at bat, or you're pitching against Barry Bonds, right? And one of the most iconic at bats ever. Tell us about that at bat. What did you feel in that experience?
This at bat, I mean, you guys can watch it. I've watched it many, many times. I got the kids watched it, and there's such a big story behind it. But the cool thing is, I was the best. I was at the top of my game at the time. He was at the top of his game, and I think, you know, there's a fear of failure and everything. But to me, I'm like, I can see how good I am right now against the best in the world. And to me, after the game, I'm like, wow. And I remember the video guy. His name was Casey Deskins. The video guy, it sounds terrible, but he was my best friend. He was a good friend of mine. And Casey was a video guy for us, and he's like, man, why are you laughing? He beat you. I'm like, That's the best time I've ever had on the mound. I mean, I gave everything I got. Everything hurts. My arm, my right side was just sore.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm like, I'm going as hard as I can. If my arm might fall off, but that's the one at bat. That's the one time right there that I know I got to measure myself. And then I failed. And he beat me twice. I mean, he went deep 550 feet and make every go foul. Then he went and just almost hit me in the face, almost hit Alex Cora second base, and he went out center field.
That's what was amazing. I mean, that's to me, like when people ask, like, who's the best player you've ever seen? And I'm like, I was a huge Ken Griffey fan. And Bonds obviously had his PED issues, right? But I'm like, that guy was
he changed the game.
It was unbelievable. I mean, the eye he had, his plate discipline. When you would actually sit and watch him, even like as a player in the bigs, I'm like, oh, looks like we're throwing around him, and he would just be on every pitch, and
Insane.
He got that one pitch and he didn't miss it. I'm like, this is incredible. How do you do that?
Well, that's the crazy thing about this. That's how smart he was at baseball. He knew situation. He knew when he was being pitched around. He knew when he was going to get a strike or not. He knew. I mean, there's so much hitting is so freaking hard. It's impossible to do almost. It's a luck thing almost. But then if you do it over and over and over, you're doing something right. I mean, he was the best in the world, I think. I think he's the best player to ever play the game, in my opinion. I haven't seen the Babe Ruth of the world, but I'm talking about athlete, the way he changed the game. I mean, I knew he was number 6 hitter. I knew that. I'm like, okay, now if we have a 3-run lead, a 4-run lead, I might not face it, but if I have a 4-run lead, all this stuff was coming into play. I mean, that's insane to change a game that way. Not even having to be in the circle, being an on-deck circle, being on behind on. I mean, that's big time. That's what makes it, to me, a Hall of Famer. Just the way he changed the game, the way he made everybody better around. I mean, guys are hitting in front of him or after, behind him. I mean, behind him, you don't get a lot of RBIs, but you get a lot of scrap of, little hits and stuff because you're getting a lot of fastballs. And I think he just changed the game. To me, you have a guy like Ken Griffey. I think it's more of a natural guy, like just natural beauty, perfect, like just a swan. Just everything he did was just beautiful to watch. Barry, I think Barry's just good. I mean, you just saw like good. I mean, everything he did wasn't as sexy as I think as Griffey did, but man, there's just two different guys. I mean, you see guys that you're like, man, it looks like he's swinging underwater, but he's always on time. That was Ken Griffey. But then you got that Barry Bonds is just so short, so quick, so strong, to the ball. I mean, it's totally different guys. And to me, I mean, the best. I don't want to watch. I don't really mean about skill wise Barry, because there's a lot of good players that played. There's a lot of guys that played. Gary Sheffield, my God. I mean, that guy was beast. I mean, that guy might be the best. I mean, Edgar Martinez, I mean, pretty much the best right-handed guys I've ever played, but I've ever seen. But Gary Sheffield, I think he's the best righty that I've ever seen. It's a guy like this, just so quick, so strong, and just that's kind of the Barry Bonds, a righty and lefty Barry Bonds. I think Sheffield, I think these two guys are, I mean, they're pretty impressive. But Barry changed the game. I mean, he just changed the game. I remember we had pitchers meetings with Jim Colburn. He goes, okay, I got an idea. I'm like, Jim, no, we can't pitch to him. Let's stop talking about him. Like, let's walk him. Just give me this. He goes, oh, yeah, you can pitch around. I'm like, no. Like, you don't understand. He's not going to call. He's not going to swing back pitches. All it is he's waiting for me to mess up. And I will. It's possible. And he's not going to miss. So let's get this straight. Like you said, I mean, he was getting one good pitch to handle maybe every series, every 3 or 4 games. And he would crush it.
Yeah.
It's insane. Amazing. It's amazing.
So Sheffield was one. What are some of the other guys that really impressed you? Let's talk about pitchers. Was there any guys that really influenced you and taught you a lot about pitching and how to go about it?
Roger Clemens. Roger Clemens, I think you watched him pitch. I'm like, just out there, his aura on the mound was different. I mean, he was big. He got bigger, and then you could tell like he was dominating the hitter. And I remember the Piazza incident of him and Piazza. Like, to me, that kind of defines a little bit what he is, just a bulldog, just an attacker. And he's just 7 Cy Youngs, right? 7 Cy Young Award winners. That's a lot. That's a lot of Cy Youngs.
What did you only had 1, 2?
Only 1. See, it doesn't even count. Like, are you kidding me? What was that? No, I think Roger Clemens is a guy that I really love watching. A lot of people one guy that helped me a lot, I did not pitch at all like him, was Oral Hershiser. Orlo Shizer, when I was with the Dodgers, he used to do meetings you've been to Vero Beach before?
Yeah.
Okay, so Vero Beach, we used to have a little bar. It used to be where all the Don Drysdales, the Sandy Koufax would go to have a drink in that night. So that's why it's so special. It's a little bar, but then we had meetings there with all the pitchers, and then Orlo Shizer would go do meetings, just pick brains, just kind of talk about pitching, you know, and I learned so much about him. How like he used to take speed off and then, you know, add a little bit and just move the ball around. He would throw a little slower. He would throw a sinker, then throw a little slower sinker to get a foul ball. He knew that. He was just very smart that way. And I've learned a lot from these guys. The guys like Quantrill, guys, I've learned so much. Not at all the way I pitch, but I've learned a lot from them. And I kind of picked their brains, picked the way they would pitch, like exactly like Greg Maddux did the same thing. I've learned so much from Greg just watching him, how he went about his business. And I didn't even pitch that way. I mean, I was just full out. But to me, just kind of pick the best of the best. And I kind of wanted to, you know, take a little bit of this, a little of that, and make it into my own.
Yeah. Now, do your kids, are they playing baseball at all? Or are they playing just hockey up north? Or
I have 2 girls and 2 boys, and my girls are just at school. My 2 boys, one of them, my youngest, Harley, he is a baseball fanatic, and my son Maddox plays hockey. My other is all hockey, so.
Okay.
And I'm preaching to play another sports, but I'm not making them, so.
Right.
How good of that am I?
Nice. Nice. So you're coaching kids now at your home, kind of one-on-one instruction. Sounds like that you have quite a passion for that. Are you looking to get back in Major League Baseball as a pitching coach at some level, or?
I mean, I hope so. That's what I want to do. I'd love to do it. I don't know how that's going to happen. I mean, it's changed so much. I want to make sure that I'm somewhere that I'm appreciated the work I do. And now it's been like such a big difference, such a big change. I think I have to be understood the way I talk to you. So I need to have the right staff, the right people on top of me that I can actually talk the way I want to talk. Because a lot of times is you come into a situation, there's already a system in place, and it's just trying to fit in. And to me, it was a little bit hard. I don't fit in very well. So, so to me, it's got to be the right situation. I love teaching. I'm really proud of seeing guys like understand what I'm trying to say and try to work on it, and you know, just keep going after it. I mean, there's guys I have right now. I communicate with them. They're in Japan right now. They play in Japan. Okay. And Reed Garrett. I mean, it's fun because he was actually with us last year in AAA. He started as a Rule 5 guy for Detroit. We got him back because he wasn't doing good, and he came down with the Rangers in AAA. The whole year was with us, and I mean, to see where he was, he came in with zero confidence. He didn't really have his good stuff. I mean, his stuff was there, going 99, 100, but he didn't really, you know, he was afraid. He didn't know what to do. He was learning. He's just a young kid. And now you see him blossoming. It's really cool to watch. And he's dominating over there, but he still wants to learn. He reads everything I read. To me, I take pride in that. I take pride because I want to make sure I give him the right things. I want to make sure I tell them the right thing, because I don't want to just like, oh, do this and not really know what I'm talking about. So I think it's a mutual respect that way, because I feel like they care about me and I care about them. So I think that's the big relationship that we need in baseball. Because, I mean, whatever you want or not, we're like dads. I mean, coaches are dads. I mean, we're away from the family. We're the best friends. We're the guys that get a confidant. We're the guys that hey, we need a beer. Sometimes you need to push, but sometimes you just need to talk or whatever. Right. And I think that's important as a coach to understand that you have to have a balance. And I think that's what I like to do. That's the way I like to coach. And if I can actually do that, I would love to do it. That would be my dream, just to be in the big leagues and help guys in the big leagues, of course.
Is there anything that with these one-on-one kind of instructions you do with these pitchers, do you find that a lot of them have the same, let's say on the mental side of the approach, do a lot of them have maybe the same hiccups? Is there kind of commonality there? Do you find that?
Yeah, but it's funny, but it's not like they're just afraid. They're afraid to fail. I think they want to be themselves. They're trying to be someone else. They're trying to be me or trying to be whoever teaches them. Like, no, just figure it out. Like, I don't know everything. I don't know much. I mean, I just know from stuff from my trial and errors. So don't be afraid to fail. And I think the fear of failure just blocks people. Instead of just fail, like, look for failure. Look for it. Look for do something you can fail. Like, and then it doesn't mean you suck. It just means you failed, and then try to do it again. Try to figure that out. And I think you can grow so much faster by failing. I think that's when you learn. No one cares when you do good. I mean, everybody cares when you do good, but personally, you don't really grow. And I think failure is part of growth, and you need to fail as much as possible to a certain extent. You don't want to start bashing all day and fail all day. It's nice to be good. Like I said earlier, I love to be good at baseball. It's probably what made me more attached to the game. But at a certain age, you just want to grow by, you know, failure is okay. I mean, you might be special, but failure is okay. I think that's the biggest hiccup, that they want to, I think they're trying to please others. They're trying to do things their one way. I'm like, no, just listen, take what you can. And if it doesn't work for you, just move on, try something else. I think just being able to move back and forth and not be stuck on one way is huge.
I agree. Yeah. And I was having a conversation today with a player, and I asked him, and he had some experiences where, I just feel like I'm trying to, in a way, please the coach. You know, I'm like, I've been there. Believe me. I think we've all been there, because we all want to be coachable, right? We all want to be able to listen to instruction, but you also have to know yourself enough to say, hey, like, I can see that probably worked for you, but that might not work for me, you know, and
or just say, I don't understand.
Right.
Like, I don't get it, man. Because there's the best pitching coach at Claude Austin. Claude Austin is a lefty, is a great pitching coach. No idea how he would talk. I mean, but I remember all the movement he would do, the movement and everything else. Now I kind of caught up to this later, like 15 years later, I understood a little bit what he was talking about. But there's coaches that, to me, my best coaches are more rah, let's go, you can do this, more like a confidence booster, like, hey, or with it maybe. That, to me, that worked for me. And doesn't mean he's the best pitching coach. He's the best guy that worked for me or where I was at the time. I think it's important to understand as a coach, what's this kid? Who is he? Like, a Dominican kid, never had a parent. He left at 15 years old. He doesn't have any guidance. He might need a little bit, like, hey, come on, buddy, go eat, you know, whatever it is, like, whatever they need. Our job is not to cater to them, but our job is to be attentive of what they're trying to do. And we all know what they're trying to accomplish. They're trying to be the best in the world at what they do. We know that. That's very simple. Mm-hmm. So my job is to try to get them to that point. Not from today to tomorrow. It's like, all right, there's a step that he has to take. Like, there's a certain learning experience that he has to go through. And the problem is, in this game, you only have a certain amount of time. You want to try to get it quick.
That's right.
And, you know, it's not easy. And there's a lot of times it takes a lot more time. Sometimes you got to fail a lot. You got to be an A ball for 5 years. I don't know. Like, everybody's different. There's not one right way. It's just a lot of different ways.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, that's I've taken a lot of your time here already. So what would you say in regards to, say you're talking those high school kids, maybe the college age kid, what to say is the one piece of advice you would give them to progress in what they're trying to do?
Be open-minded, but be yourself. Like, just try to be a sponge. But understand that if you can't, if you don't, it doesn't work, it's okay to let it go. Move on. Like, it doesn't mean you're not going back to it. Doesn't mean that maybe later you'll get it. I mean, there's things I'm like, oh, that's what he meant. You know, there's like 4 or 5 years later. I mean, there's Mark Brewer, actually, was one of my first pitching coach I understood. Brew was a guy that, so funny. He just made everything easier, funner. Like, that's what he did. But as a pitching coach, I don't think I've learned anything, but that's not true. I've learned a lot. But what I can remember is, like, he made me feel like, fun, easy. It made me play baseball instead of just working at it. And that's a big thing. We play baseball. I retired when I stopped playing baseball. It became a job. I had to go to the field. My body wasn't good. And when it becomes a job, it's not fun. And, you know, there's guys that can say, example, Jeff Kent, he said, I don't like baseball. I'm like, I know you're lying. You just say that, but Jeff was dedicated to what he wanted. He just didn't like the people around, like, to talk to people maybe. But guys like that work hard, but you have to understand that everybody's different. And that's just important to, as a kid, just be yourself. Don't be stubborn. Like, understand that you don't know it all. Just be a sponge, open up to stuff, but understand. If you know who you are, you'll know who to turn to. And then if you don't know, open up and say, hey, I think it's a simpler way to do it.
That's awesome, man. That's great. Well, I'm excited for you, man. Hopefully it works out in regards to maybe you find a fit with a team, if that's the right route for you. And but I know what it's like to work with one-on-one with kids and see that progression. And it's a whole different level when you're working with a high school kid as opposed to a pro already, and it's coming to you for advice, and you're able to maybe tinker and fix something mechanically, and it clicks for them. You're like, dude, that's it. Like, that's the mechanic right there. So. Well, Eric, man, it's been fun. I'm glad you been following the channel and watching the episodes a little bit. And but I really appreciate your time, and hopefully we'll see you, you know, whether it's on TV again at the big level or whatever it is, man. But I appreciate your time.
Thank you, man. Anytime. Just let me know. We'll do it again. That was fun. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.